Detoxify your mind and body. Be the change you want to see. Small steps towards living better. Small steps to where I want to be.
Hey, welcome back to Raw Intuition, guys. Today I have an interview with my friend Tasha Lee. And I wanted to bring Tasha on because I get a lot of questions in my classes and through email about the level of sugar in fruit. You know, people are asking, well, isn't there too much sugar in fruit? Isn't that going to negatively affect my blood sugar levels? And I figured what better person to talk about this subject than Tasha, because she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when she was 11 years old. So she has spent a lifetime trying different diets and really finding what foods really cause elevated and prolonged blood sugar spikes and what foods don't. Specifically, you know, fruit and sugar, that kind of gets a bad rap. And so I'll ask Tasha what she has experienced eating fruit and eating other foods and how they affect her. So if you have any questions after watching this interview, you can always go down below, leave a comment or a question, or you can find all of Tasha's resources in the description box of this video. She's got a book called Healing Diabetes with Fruit. She has a website. She's got a couple YouTube channels and a blog. So she's putting out a lot of information for people to learn from her and what she has found works best for controlling blood sugar and all these things. So I hope this interview is educational and informational for you guys, and share it with others that you think it might benefit. And until next time, guys, remember to always follow your raw intuition. All right, Tasha, can you give us a brief, just an overview of, you know, your situation with your diabetes and what sort of the path that you've taken to get to where you are now, what the whole story is with that?
I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 11 years old, and so it's type 1 diabetes. And at that time, how we controlled it was we had a specific meal plan where you eat like 2 breads, 2 meats, 1 fruit, 1 vegetable, 1 milk for each of your meals. So it was a meal plan. And then, so like a bread was 15 grams of carbs approximately. So like a piece of bread or 1 apple or, you know, like my vegetable was 10 or something, nice. You know, so the meal plan was part of it, and the other part was that I had to eat at specific meal times because the insulin at that time was like, it peaked at certain times, so you had to eat at specific times so that your blood sugar didn't crash. Okay. So that was absolutely horrible to do that. I hated the meal plan. I hated having to eat at specific times, and at some point, you know, then I got on an insulin pump, and we got these cool insulins where you can just do it and eat, and it's fine. So as far as my food is concerned, I did that diabetic meal plan until I went to college, and then I was like, yes, nice. I'm out from under my parents' roof. I can eat whatever I want. So then I didn't eat I just binged on everything, and I had a pretty bad eating disorder that really got out of hand at that point. So I ate crap for years, and when I did actually start to want to control my diabetes better, because I knew I was killing myself with these terrible blood sugars and stuff, terrible diet. The big thing for me was recovering from my eating disorder. So once I did find a way out of that, then I tried different meal plans to see what worked best for my blood sugars. And I just tried a variety of things. I tried like a high animal product diet, so it was low fat, but and it mixed like a carbohydrate and a protein at every meal so that you didn't have blood sugar spikes. That was the point of it, but it was for food addicts. That's why I did it. But it really was terrible for my diabetes because, I don't know, it was just very unpredictable. And I'm like, this is not working for me. So I found out about the raw food diet. Somebody sent a newsletter from the Batenko family that was focused on diabetes and talked about Sergey getting rid of his type 1 diabetes by eating this raw food diet. And I'm like, that's not true. Wow. People don't get rid of type 1 diabetes. We have it for life, you know, but there were several testimonials on there, and I'm like, hey, I don't believe this is true, but I owe it a shot. What's it gonna hurt? So I didn't know how to eat raw. I just bought a bunch of books from the library. I mean, I didn't buy them. That's why I went to the library so I could borrow them.
Sure.
But I tried a bunch of different methods, and what finally worked the best for me was the fruit-based diet. So low fat, high in fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while to actually stick with it, but I found right away that it worked really well.
Okay. So can you give us like an idea of what a typical day would look like for you as far as what you eat? Like, is it all fruit? Is it, fruits and greens, nuts and seeds?
A typical day right now is not typical from what I have been eating. I've tried lots of variations. So at one point I was doing a lot of green smoothies.
Okay.
So like I would put 5 to 7 bananas, and a pound of greens, and do it as a smoothie. And I did that a couple times a day. And then I moved into like doing just fruit mono meals. So like 4 mangoes, and then maybe like a non-sweet meal in the evening. So like different, like I could do zucchini noodles and a tomato sauce. Currently, I have digestion issues from the mold, so I'm doing green juice because I can't really digest salads.
Gotcha.
So I'm doing like 8 cups of green juice. So like 3 of them from lettuce type stuff and a couple from carrot type stuff. And then I eat like a mango meal, like 10 mangoes, or I had a honeydew for breakfast. I'm eating a lot of juicy fruit right now.
Okay. So are there certain fruits that affect your blood sugar more that you have to be careful of, or is it pretty much you can just eat fruit and you don't even really worry about it too much?
Well, yes, there are fruits that are more problematic, and they're the ones that I'm eating now because they're juicier and easier to digest. So yeah, if they're easier to digest, the blood sugar is going to get absorbed quicker, right?
Yeah.
So watermelons, melons, they will be it's very quick. So I have to eat them very slowly so that I don't get a blood sugar spike.
When you started implementing more fruit, how did that affect like the insulin levels and things like that?
Well, this is something that people bring up a lot of times is when I eat fruit, like if I eat a banana, my blood sugar spikes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because it's not the fruit, it's the other stuff I'm eating or the other stuff that's in my system.
Okay.
So yes, at first when I first went to the fruit-based diet, I was coming from like a very low carb diet.
Okay.
So I was doing like fats basically, so avocados and greens, lemons, like that was the extent of my fruit.
Oh, nice.
Grapefruit. So I had a lot of fat in my system, which made me very not sensitive to insulin, insensitive. So then when I would eat carbs, I needed a lot more insulin for those carbs than I do now.
Okay.
It took a while, like at first, it just takes a while for the fat to kind of clear out of the system. I have this continuous glucose monitor, and it shows.
Oh yeah.
It shows what my blood sugar is all the time, and so I watched this when I was coming from the high fat to low fat, and all the different variations of everything I've tried. So I've seen like how long, like depending on how much fat is in my system, it could take. Like one time it took like a month and a half for all the fat to clear out and my levels to get to where they normally are eating fruit.
Wow.
Is that too complicated?
No. So basically what you're saying is that it's the amount of fat in the diet that really affects the blood sugar the most. Is that right?
Yes, fat is a big one, but also protein.
Protein, yeah, sure. Okay.
I've seen that as I've done like even doing a high fruit diet because of issues I've had with living in mold and deficiencies. I've done like more protein. I've done more fat, like supplementing to get rid of deficiencies. So during this time, I've watch even more like how protein affects my blood sugars, and basically the fat and the protein slow down the blood sugar rise and fall.
Okay.
So if I eat a banana, let's say, and I've got a lot of protein and fat in my system,
Mm-hmm.
my blood sugar will go up, and then it kind of stays up there if I've got a lot of fat and protein, and it's very slow to come down. So it can be problematic. Whereas if you don't have a lot of fat and protein, it might go up and down.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow. So what tips would you give somebody that is looking to avoid like blood sugar spikes and looking to keep things more on a flat line level, like you said you were looking for?
okay, well, for someone who's eating fruit and doesn't want to spike, as we talked about earlier, it really depends on what else is in your system.
Mm-hmm.
So during the transition process, if you've still got like fats that are clogging up your system and making you less sensitive to insulin, some of the things that are really helpful are moving before meals. So even if you like take a walk and then eat, or like jump on the rebounder, So, if someone has diabetes, it might be because they're, don't have healthy lifestyle habits in general, in which case you might not be in shape. So those are some easy things you can do, is to walk. Some people get diabetes and it has nothing to, you can be very skinny and have diabetes or whatever. So moving before meals, also combining fiber with your meals. So adding extra fiber, like you can eat lettuce, like eat just a couple of leaves of romaine. Is that a leaf? Long. Pieces of romaine before and after your fruit meal to add some extra fiber. Or like green smoothies are great because you're adding the extra fiber from the greens.
Okay.
And it really flattens out the blood sugars. For type 1 diabetics, we usually do insulin a little bit ahead of the meal instead of just doing insulin then eating. So that way the blood sugar has time to start heading down a little bit. So when you start eating your fruit, you can avoid spiking.
Yeah. So
those are probably the big ones.
Okay. What improvements have you noticed since you've gone from your standard, what you were eating, to now your raw vegan lifestyle and diet?
What a great question.
Thank you.
Well, the biggest one for me is that I used to have low blood sugar seizures. Okay. So every time my blood sugar dropped like very low, I'd have these like, crazy seizures, and it really affected my quality of life. So I did not keep my blood sugars in a good target range because I did not want to risk going low, having a seizure, losing my driver's license again. So what happened is I started eating the fruit-based diet is that I stopped having those low blood sugar seizures, and I was lowering my target range, so it was better and better. And so I did drop low because as a type 1 diabetic, it's never going to be perfect. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, but in general, it was in a lower range, and I wasn't having seizures, so that was awesome. So now my blood sugar is I'm aiming. My goal eventually is just a flat line, 24 hours.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer. But I can keep my blood sugar. I like to go for like 100 milligrams per deciliter, and my A1C is it's usually been at 6 or below, which is really good. Like in the past, it was 12, like in college. Okay. Really not good. Sure. And I started to get it lower and lower, but I could, on the other diets, it's around like 8. So I'm, that's really, really, really good. So I'm very happy with that.
So can you explain what the A1C is?
Sure. An A1C is a measure that you use with a lab test. It kind of shows where your blood sugars have been for the last 3 months. Okay. I can't explain the details of it, but it's the accepted measurement. Gotcha. So that's just the percentage. Typically, for those without diabetes, it's like 5.5%, I guess. So 6 is really good.
Wow, yeah. So when I talk to people a lot, they they tell me if they know somebody that's diabetic or if they might be diabetic, they say that fruit should be avoided if you have diabetes. So what do you say to people like that?
I would say to that person that this is a very common, many people think this. Many people are scared of fruit. A lot of times we hear to limit our carbs as diabetic, count our carbs. And fruit is a carb, it's a simple carb.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one thing that gets confused in people's mind is that sugar is bad, therefore fruit is bad.
Yeah.
Fruit is sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's really a difference between eating like processed sugar and eating fruit, because processed sugar is, well, first of all, it's crap and it's not helpful for the body.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
It doesn't have things that help your body absorb it. Like fruit has fiber, so and it's made as a package for your body, so it's really good for the body. And I think that it's really sad that a lot of times we miss out on the nutrition in fruit because we're afraid of blood sugar spikes.
Right, totally.
And like, for instance, the melon that I ate this morning, I think there's a lot of valuable things in melons, and just because I have a body that's a little screwed up with type 1 diabetes, I don't think that I should avoid eating melons because of that. I think I just need to find a way to make it work for my screwed up body.
Mm-hmm.
So I eat it slowly, And as a type 1 diabetic finds these ways to eat fruit happily, including lettuce and doing movement and stuff, and then eventually the body can clear out the stuff that's messing it up and digest fruit without a problem. Like, I really like one of the guys in my book. His story is he records his blood sugars after his banana smoothie.
Okay.
And over time, the 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, it just lowers and lowers to where then he was eating his banana smoothie.
Yeah. And
it's no issue at all because he's resolved his diabetic condition.
Wow. So do you anticipate that one day you'll be able to eliminate insulin altogether?
That is a great question. I actually am guessing that I probably will not eliminate insulin altogether. Since I've had diabetes for 25 years before starting this. I know that the people who did reverse it, like Sergey Botenko, Alex Romanoff, they did it very shortly after their diagnosis. They switched to raw foods diet, and I think that makes a difference because we kind of have like a honeymoon period where our body is still making a little bit of insulin. I think if you can catch it early enough, maybe your body can resolve it. There are type 1s who have stayed off of insulin by eating a high-fat, low-carb, raw vegan diet. And I personally do not believe that is the healthiest way to go. Yeah. But when I did that diet, as I mentioned, I got very insensitive to insulin. But since I wasn't eating carbs, it was fine. I got down to 1 unit of insulin. Wow. So I think on that diet, I could get off my insulin. However, I'm concerned about my health. I want to be healthy, and I felt very crappy on that diet, and I craved carbs all the time. So I'm like, this does not seem right to me. So I think for me, I'd rather have the health benefits of eating a low-fat, fruit-based diet and just take insulin. Like everybody else in the world has insulin. Their bodies are making it, though. So it's okay with me to have to take it. Yeah, and like you said, it's about feeling good, right? You don't want to... Did you have low energy levels and things like that when you were on the high-fat diet? Yeah, because your body's like, it's not very good at converting the fat for energy. It's much easier to use the fruit sugar for energy. Yeah. So for you, it was really about the whole picture. It wasn't just solely getting off of insulin. You're looking for, everything. You want to feel good. And even if that means having just a little bit of insulin, that's the route that you wanted to take. Yes, I want to be healthy now and healthy when I'm 80. I want to live to be 80 too. Yeah. And the thing with diabetics is we tend to get diabetic complications. Okay. And so I want to avoid those complications. Yeah. And so I feel like this is the best diet for that. And I talked about things that improved on this diet. Another thing that I failed to mention was that I had diabetic retinopathy, which is the eye disease, the complication that we get. And so that has gone away on this diet. It was just a little bit, but it was there for several times several of my yearly visits, and then it started to go away. And so that improves with better control, better blood sugar control.
Okay.
And I think it also has to do with, other things in my body that are healthier, getting nutrients that I need and not putting in crap.
Definitely.
So I hope to avoid the other complications too.
Cool. So do you count calories or anything like that?
I currently do not count calories because I find it to be a little like prison.
Yeah.
For my eating disorder and all the years of counting calories.
Sure.
But I do log it from time to time just to see what is going on. I usually watch on here. So I'm lucky I have a continuous glucose monitor. Some people don't have this.
Okay.
But another thing I used to do with it was kind of like walk and take little bites when I was eating, so that the walking was kind of bringing my blood sugar down.
Okay.
And counteracting the spike. Other fruits, dates can be okay by themselves, but if they're blended into Daterade with water, that's very fast, so that's not helpful. But it depends on how much fat is in your system.
Right.
Because the things that were problematic for me before that were too fast, when I had the high protein and fat, I liked the fast ones because otherwise it's probably too much information.
Hey,
bananas are like the best fruit. They're very consistent, and so it's very, very, it's the best for figuring out what's going on with blood sugar, stuff like that.
So if somebody has diabetes, are there resources that you would recommend to maybe help them get a little more information about a raw vegan lifestyle as a diabetic?
Sure, yeah. I made a website called Fruitarian Diabetic, and I put everything on there related to diabetes and fruit. There's like links to Robbie Barbero and Cyrus Kambata. One of the pages that I send people to all the time is for blood sugars, because people are always like, what's going on with your blood sugars? What do you eat in a day? So I have logs of what I eat and my blood sugars, and I have some of Robbie's on there. So that would be a big one. Also, I have a Facebook page called Healing Diabetes with Fruit, and that's got all kinds of testimonials that I've just grabbed from everywhere, testimonials and links and books and everything, all resources there. And then my book is called Healing Diabetes with Fruit, and it's about 4 type 2 diabetics that what exactly they did. I mean, basically they ate a fruit-based diet. Their stories, all the details that people want to know about, like their transition and what they ate in a day. So, of course, I recommend my book.
I would recommend it too. So you have a YouTube channel too, correct?
Yeah. I have one that's called Fruitarian Diabetic that's got the fruit and diabetes ones. Also, my main one is Tasha Lee, Fruitful Healthy Living, and that's kind of everything.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome. Very inspirational for how you've, really gone on this path of finding what works best for you and trying to help other people with it. Thanks. Yeah, it's really great. So for you, what is like your favorite fruit to eat?
My favorite fruit is Florida mangoes.
Oh, I love mangoes.
Have you had Florida mangoes?
I don't think so.
Okay, so if you already love mangoes,
yeah,
then you gotta try a Florida mango, because I did not even love mangoes at all before until I started eating these, and I'm like, so I live for them, right? Okay.
Wow.
But the amazing thing about mangoes is that there have been studies that these are helpful for diabetics for
Oh.
blood sugar control. So
Awesome.
isn't it wonderful that I love mangoes?
It was meant to be.